Problem 9 asks a question about the graph of f of x equals negative 5/4 x squared minus 4. In order to answer a question about the graph of this function, we should graph the function. And to graph a function in this course, we start with a basic function and use transformations. Now this is a quadratic function, so we're going to start with y equals x squared, and then we're going to use transformations to transform that graph into the graph of this function. So the first thing, well, let's go ahead and do the basic graph of y equals x squared. Okay, we got one here and one here on the y-axis. So we got the points 0, 0, negative 1, 1, and 1, 1. And our graph will be a parabola passing through those points. Excuse me. Now, first transformation. We're always going to do stretches and compressions before we do shifts in the horizontal or vertical direction, okay? And that is consistent with the idea that we multiply before we add or subtract. The negative 5/4 is multiplied by x squared, and we're going to stretch this graph by a factor of negative 5/4. Now, first transformation, stretched by the factor negative 5/4. Now your book will do this just a little differently. They'll stretch it by factor 5/4, and then they'll use the negative and reflect the graph. I'm going to put those two operations into one, and you can take your choice. I'll be happy with it either way as long as you do it correctly. So, first transformation, we stretch by factor negative 5/4. Now that means the negative is going to flip the graph upside down, and the 5/4 is going to stretch the graph out just a little because the factor negative, well, 5/4 is greater than 1, so we're going to have we're actually going to stretch it out. It's not that much greater than 1, so we don't stretch it out that much. Now when we do that, what happens to our 3 points here? Well, that means we're multiplying x squared by negative 5/4. The value is the y value, so y is going to be multiplied by negative 5/4. So the y value 1 on the point 1, 1 is going to become negative 5/4, so that the point 1, 1 comes down here to the point 1, negative 5/4. And the point negative 1, 1 is going to come down here to the point negative 1, negative 5/4. The point 0, 0 is going to stay where it is because stretching something in the vertical direction that's on the x-axis, there's no value to stretch. So that the 0, 0 point remains, and our graph looks like this, becoming a little bit narrower because we're stretching in this direction, and containing these 3 points. The 0, 0 is on both graphs. Okay? And the second transformation then is we subtract 4 from the y value. What does that do? Well, that shifts the graph down 4 units. So the second transformation I'll say we subtract 4 from y, shifting all points down 4 units. Okay? So that's going to be a vertical shift. This point moves down 4 units. That's not enough. 4 is a little bigger than that. This point moves down 4 units, and this point moves down 4 units. So our 3 points move down here. Every point moves down 4 units, and our graph looks like this. Okay? Actually, that looks a little narrower than this. I didn't get it quite right. I kind of shifted these inward. It should be exactly the same shape as this one. Both of these a little bit narrower than this one. In any case, our points are now -1. Now, if we move down from 5/4, which is 1 1/4, if we move down 4 units, that puts us at -5 1/4, which is -21/4. Things are a little crowded here, but I've tried to write that pretty clearly. And here we're at 1, -21/4. Now, this function here is y equals -5/4 x squared, multiplying all the values of the x squared function by -5/4, flipping it upside down, stretching it a bit. And the equation here is then y equals -5/4 x squared minus 4. And let's put a little line here to box that off. Okay, so that's the process. That's how we graph this with transformations. On a test, I would want you to show me each of these steps and explain each. You should practice this until you can do it. It's also good to know why these steps work and why we do certain things in certain order. But if you know the rules and get it right, that's fine. If you understand the common sense and get it right, that's also fine. If you understand both, that's even better, because you're going to be able to solve the problems more reliably and you're going to have a deeper understanding. But one or the other is sufficient.